This is the conscious hour. In order to put wars in perspective, you have to understand geopolitics. In order to understand geopolitics, you have to look at countries, sovereign nations, and understand the history of the sovereign nations. Most people have no clue how old Iran is. It ranges between 2,500 years and 5,000 years ago. Wrap your head around that one. Christopher Columbus bumped into our shores and our country was formed and whatever. But why is it that the United States goes into all these other countries and invades? Because they said they're fighting terrorism. That's pure bullshit. We go into the countries because we are, I'll just be straight with you, a predator nation. We're based on a military industrial complex that believes that they have the right to go and invade foreign countries. Take the wars that we've had, like Vietnam, and go forward, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, all of them were based on lies. But I don't want to get into that. I want to go back to Iran. There were these massive protests that were advertised in the West that, the Iranians were killing the innocent Iranians and it was this terrible thing that was going on. That's a bold faced lie. They captured 900 Hamas, not 900 Israeli Mossad agents in the country that were inciting the violence. So now let's talk about the carrier group. They've got the Eisenhower 3 escort destroyers, they've got B 1 bombers, the B 52s, or whatever the other ones are, and they're all getting ready to preparing to bomb Iran. Okay. But what we underestimate is the power of Iran. I don't underestimate it, and no analyst that's awake underestimates it. But because of our lack of hubris, eh, we figure it's time now that we can just go in and take over Iran. Well, let's go down this road here and listen to what's really happening and how they're preparing. And remember one thing in the previous video, this is the conscious hour, I talked about the hypersonic missiles. No country in the world has an arsenal as big as Iran. None. We don't have them. We don't have anything close to them. And then you have to think Yemen too, because they're prepared. You have to think of the other countries around that have the same type of hypersonic missiles. But let's get after this one right now.
Responsive in a crisis window. Now, let's talk about the political economy under the surface, because this is the part many audiences feel but don't always articulate. Iran has spent years under sanctions pressure that targets not only discrete behaviors, but the state's ability to transact, banking access, oil revenue pathways, shipping networks, and the broader financial plumbing that makes a modern economy function. Whatever one thinks of Iran's leadership, from Tehran's perspective, the pattern is obvious. Economic constraint is used as a strategic tool to force policy change or weaken state capacity. So, when Iran sees military signaling layered on top of financial coercion, it interprets it as a two handed strategy: squeeze the lifelines while keeping a credible threat of force in the background. In that environment, Tehran's instinct is to demonstrate that coercion will not be cost free, that Iran has agency, options, and the capacity to raise the price of escalation. That's why Iranian messaging during this period wasn't just bureaucratic, it was psychologically calibrated. Days ago, Iran's Revolutionary Guard commander was quoted using the phrase finger on the trigger, describing a posture of heightened readiness as US warships move toward the region. You can hear two audiences in that sentence. One is external, a warning designed to deter miscalculation. The other is internal, reassurance that the state's security institutions are alert, mobilized, and not passive in the face of threats. In deterrence theory, that internal audience matters more than many people think, because domestic morale and elite cohesion shape how credible a threat appears to outsiders. Yesterday, Iran unveiled a prominent mural in Tehran's Enkelab Square showing a damaged US aircraft carrier and wrecked aircraft arranged to evoke an American flag motif paired with the line, "If you sow the wind, you will reap the whirlwind." This wasn't subtle, and it wasn't meant to be. Think of it as deterrence theatre, a public, nationally legible story that says, "We see the carrier, we have a response narrative ready, and we want you to believe escalation ends badly." It also functions as a morale artifact, something citizens, security forces, and political elites can rally around in a moment of intense pressure and uncertainty. And this is where the conversation usually slides into weapons. So let's handle that carefully and intelligently. Iran's deterrence portfolio is built around asymmetric leverage, systems designed to impose costs on superior conventional forces by saturating defenses, complicating logistics, and stretching response capacity. That includes large inventories of drones and loitering munitions, a wide missile ecosystem, and anti ship options intended to make maritime operations riskier near Iran's shores. The point is not that a carrier is easy to sink. It isn't. The point is that Iran aims to make carrier operations feel expensive enough, uncertain enough, and politically risky enough that decision makers hesitate. That is classic deterrence by denial and punishment blended together. On the missile side, Iran has highlighted systems it describes as hypersonic, like the Fatah missile family. Analysts debate labels and performance claims, but what matters for deterrence is the message, maneuverability, speed, and the promise of defeating missile defenses. Even if you treat the rhetoric with caution, Iran's goal is clear: create doubt in the mind of an adversary about whether defenses can reliably intercept everything in a fast, complex rate environment. And doubt is powerful because planners have to assume worst case possibilities when lives, ships, and political credibility are on the line. On the drone side, the lesson of recent wars is even more concrete. Large scale drone waves have been used to exhaust air defenses, consume interceptors, and create openings for other munitions. An approach observed repeatedly in the Russia Ukraine context, where Iranian designed Shahed type drones and their derivatives have been used in volume to pressure defences over time. Translate that logic to a maritime theatre, and the concept becomes saturation stress, not one perfect hit, but repeated pressure that strains radars, reaction time, and intercept capacity. Again, the strategic point is leverage, forcing the other side to spend more, deploy more, and accept more risk. Iran also emphasizes anti ship ballistic missile concepts, systems discussed for years as part of a wider keep out toolkit, including missiles described as designed to target ships at sea. Here, the key idea is not a Hollywood scenario, it's operational friction. Even the possibility of credible anti ship missiles changes how naval forces distribute, defend, and operate, how far they stand off, how they coordinate escorts, how they layer sensors, and how they protect logistics nodes. In deterrence terms, Iran.
So I'm going to stop it there because when they brought in the Eisenhower the first time, it got hit by a missile. And I think it went back to Okinawa or someplace to get rebuilt, repaired. But this was more than a year ago. I think it was. It was quite a while back. Between then and now, they have hypersonic missiles that Mach 10, Mach 12, but they have hundreds of thousands of missiles. And the drones, massive amount of drones. And so you have a country that's massive in size. You have a country that's strategically located in an area that's very rugged terrain and makes it impossible for ground troops to go in. So the question is, why are we doing this? Because we want to control Iran because of its resources. It's massive. It's one of the biggest countries in the Middle East or the West Asia. It's huge, but it doesn't stop the military industrial complex. And so we're willing, when the US is willing, and Israel is ready to go to war against Iran. And if I had a lot of money, I'd bet $1 million that they would never defeat Iran. Never. Impossible. If they use nuclear weapons, which Netanyahu has nuclear weapons, and they say, oh, we don't know if he does. Yeah, he had 440 of them in 1996. Nuclear weapons means the end of the region. Because do you think that Iran's going to sit back and hold back all their missiles? No. You're talking hundreds of thousands. I mean, not tens of thousands. They've been waiting for this day a long time. It's the Conscious Hour. Please pass this, spread it words, call your congressional representatives, tell them to shut it down. We don't need a world war. Make it happen. hit the like button and share. Thank you so much for watching The Conscious Hour.